Scary telling.
I've always known that my kisses were deadly. It's a curse that I've been carrying since I was 10 years old. I remember the day it happened so vividly, like it was just yesterday. I was at the playground with my friend Henry, and we were having the time of our lives. We ran over to the seesaw, holding hands for some reason. And then, Henry leaned over and kissed me fully on the lips, before letting go of my hand and jumping on the seat. I stood still for a moment, confused. And then, I ran to the other side, raised my arms, gripped the seat, pulled it down, and jumped on. Henry went up, and then he fell like a stone with a very loud thud. He lay crumpled on the rubbery pink playground gravel, dead. Everyone thought it was a random heart failure, but I knew better. I knew that it was my curse, the curse that I've been living with for years. After that, I avoided boys. Boys didn't like that, especially as I was a pretty little thing with soft curvy lips. The more I avoided them, the more they tried to kiss me. And then, there was Jerry. He cornered me in the school cloakroom and kissed me with a loud smacking sound. I wriggled out of his grasp and dashed out, only to hear once again that loud thud. I knew before I turned around that he was dead, lying lifeless among the stinky sneakers littering the floor. The same thing happened with Michael, who stole a kiss on the bus just before his stop. He remained alive long enough to reach the door and then tumbled out, headfirst, onto the pavement below. And then, there was poor Paul. I actually liked him. He was so good-looking with bright, sparkly eyes, and he was so kind and smart. We did homework together, and we both wanted to be doctors. He helped me patiently with maths while I wrote up his essays. He would never kiss me suddenly when I didn't want it. I hoped desperately that would make a difference, inching closer and closer to him in our study sessions, letting my hand accidentally on purpose brush against his, until he asked politely, "Maisie, I've been dying to kiss you. May I?" I forgot about my curse and my hormonal adolescent delight and leaned forward with my lips parted and my eyes shining. "Oh, Paul," I breathed. As his lips pressed softly but firmly against mine, my whole body filled with joy, and I could barely let him pull away. We looked deep into each other's eyes, glowing with young love. And then, I shrieked out in despair as the light dimmed in his eyes. He slumped over, while I sobbed uncontrollably. I never forgave myself for what happened to him. I gave up my dream of becoming a doctor and relentlessly pursued another career, specializing in dealing with unwanted husbands and lovers. It's a surprisingly lucrative field, and I've become quite good at it. But it's not something that I'm proud of. I know that I'm a monster, a curse on anyone who dares to love me. And so, I keep to myself, living a solitary life, haunted by the ghosts of those I've killed with my deadly kisses. I took a sip of my coffee as I sat in my car, watching Jason's house. He was my latest target, a man who had hired me to make his mistress disappear. It was a job that I had done many times before, but something about this one felt different. I couldn't quite put my finger on it, but the atmosphere was unsettling. I finally gathered the courage to get out of my car and approach his house. As soon as I rang the doorbell, Jason opened the door with a big smile on his face. He was a tall man with a muscular build, and his dark eyes seemed to dance in the light. "Hi, you must be Maisie," he said. "Please, come in." I stepped into his living room and looked around. The walls were adorned with paintings and sculptures, and there was a sense of opulence to the place. Jason offered me a seat, and we started talking. He seemed like a nice guy, and I couldn't help but wonder why he wanted to get rid of his mistress. As the night wore on, I started to feel more and more uneasy. There was something about Jason that made me feel on edge. He kept staring at me with a hungry look in his eyes, and his demeanor was becoming increasingly aggressive. I tried to keep things light and casual, but I couldn't shake off the feeling that something was off. I could feel my curse stirring within me, a reminder of the danger that I posed to anyone who came too close. Jason suddenly got up from his seat and walked towards me. My heart started to race as he got closer and closer, his eyes never leaving mine. And then, he leaned in to kiss me. I pushed him away, my body trembling with fear. I knew that I couldn't let him get too close, or he would end up dead like so many others before him. "What's wrong?" he asked, his eyes darkening with frustration. "I can't do this," I said, my voice shaking. "I have to go." I quickly got up from my seat and made my way to the door. But before I could leave, Jason grabbed me by the arm and pulled me back. "You're not going anywhere," he said, his grip tightening. I struggled to break free, but he was too strong. And then, he kissed me again. I could feel my curse stirring within me, and I knew that I had to get out of there before it was too late. I finally managed to break free and run out of the house. As I drove away, I couldn't shake off the feeling that something had changed within me. I had become more fearful, more vulnerable, and I knew that I was in danger. As I drove back to my apartment, I couldn't stop thinking about what had just happened with Jason. It was the first time that I had felt genuinely scared since Paul's death. I knew that I couldn't keep doing this job forever, that I had to find a way out of this curse. But as much as I wanted to run away from my past, I knew that I could never escape it. My thoughts drifted back to the tragic deaths of Jerry, Michael, and Paul. Each memory was like a knife in my heart, a reminder of the people that I had killed with my deadly kisses. I still remember the look on Jerry's face as he cornered me in the school cloakroom. He was a bully, the kind of guy who thought that he could have anything he wanted. He grabbed me by the arms and forced his lips onto mine, his breath reeking of stale cigarettes and beer. I struggled to break free, but he was too strong. And then, he fell to the ground, lifeless. Michael was different. He was shy, a bit of a bookworm. He sat behind me on the bus every day, always stealing glances at me when he thought I wasn't looking. One day, he mustered up the courage to kiss me as he got off the bus. I could feel the heat rising in my face as I leaned in to meet his lips. And then, he tumbled out of the bus, headfirst onto the pavement below. And then, there was Paul. He was different from the others. He was smart, funny, and kind. We had a connection that I couldn't quite put into words. We dreamed of becoming doctors together, and he helped me with my math while I wrote up his essays. We worked together in his bedroom, with textbooks spread out on his bed and papers scattered on the floor. And then, he leaned in to kiss me. I could feel the butterflies in my stomach as our lips met, and I knew that I was in love. But as much as I wanted to forget about my curse, I knew that I could never escape it. As soon as our lips touched, I felt a surge of fear rising within me. And then, Paul fell to the ground, lifeless. I knew that I could never forgive myself for what I had done to him. I had become a monster, a harbinger of death. And I knew that I could never let anyone get too close to me again. As I reached my apartment, I felt a strange presence in the room. It was as if the ghosts of my past were haunting me, reminding me of the lives that I had taken. I sat down on the couch, feeling a wave of despair washing over me. I knew that I could never escape my curse, that I was doomed to live a life of loneliness and regret. The next day, I woke up feeling even more scared and vulnerable than before. I knew that I had to find a way to control my curse, to prevent anyone else from getting hurt. But as much as I tried to suppress it, I could feel the fear rising within me. I spent the day trying to distract myself, running errands and meeting with clients. But no matter how much I tried to keep my mind off of my curse, it was always there, lurking in the back of my mind. And then, I got a call from Jason. He was angry, demanding to know why I had left without finishing the job. I could feel his anger rising over the phone, and I knew that I had to be careful. "I'm sorry, Jason," I said, my voice shaking. "I can't do this anymore. I can't risk hurting anyone else." There was a long pause on the other end of the line, and I could hear his breathing becoming heavy. "You're not getting out of this that easily," he said, his voice cold and menacing. And then he hung up the phone. I knew that I was in trouble. I could feel the fear rising within me, a reminder of the danger that I posed to anyone who dared to get too close. And then there was a knock on my door. I froze, my heart pounding in my chest. I knew that it was Jason, that he had come to finish the job. I tried to keep my breathing steady, to keep my mind focused, but I could feel the fear taking over. And then the door burst open. Jason was standing there, his eyes burning with anger. "You can't escape me, Maisie," he said, his voice cold and cruel. "You're going to pay for what you've done." I tried to back away, to keep my distance, but he was too fast. He grabbed me by the arms, pulling me closer to him. And then he kissed me. I could feel the heat rising in my body, the fear and the curse battling within me. And then I felt a surge of energy coursing through my body. I pushed him away, my heart racing with fear. And then he fell to the ground, lifeless. I knew that I had done it again, that I had killed another person with my curse. I fell to the ground, sobbing uncontrollably. I knew that I could never escape my curse, that I was doomed to live a life of loneliness and regret. But as I lay there, feeling the weight of my curse crushing me, I knew that I had to keep going. I had to keep living, keep fighting, keep trying to find a way out of this curse. I got from the ground, wiping the tears from my eyes. I knew that I had to keep going, keep fighting, keep trying to find a way out of this curse. I knew that I couldn't keep living like this, always running from my past, always hiding from my curse. I knew that I had to find a way out, to find a way to live a normal life. And so, I decided to seek out the help of a therapist. I walked into her office, feeling nervous and vulnerable. But as soon as I started talking to her, I felt a sense of relief. She listened to me with empathy and understanding, never judging me for the things that I had done. We started working together, trying to find a way to manage my curse. It was a slow and painful process, but I knew that I had to keep going. I couldn't keep living like this, always afraid of what I might do. And then, one day, something amazing happened. I met a man named Alex. He was kind, smart, and funny, and I knew that I was falling in love with him. But as much as I wanted to be with him, I knew that I couldn't risk hurting him. I knew that I had to tell him the truth about my curse. And so, I told him everything. I told him about Jerry, Michael, and Paul. I told him about Jason, and about how I had killed him with my curse. At first, he was shocked and scared. But as we talked more and more, he began to understand. He knew that I was a good person, that I never wanted to hurt anyone. And he knew that I needed him, that I needed someone to help me manage my curse. And so, we started dating. It wasn't easy, but we worked together, finding ways to be close without risking my curse. We held hands, cuddled on the couch, and shared our hopes and dreams. It was a slow and painful process, but over time, I started to feel like a new person. I started to feel like I could have a normal life, that I could be happy and loved. And then, one day, Alex proposed to me. It was a beautiful moment, full of love and happiness. And as we stood there, surrounded by our friends and family, I knew that I had finally found a way out of my curse. I knew that I could never escape my past, that I would always carry the memories of Jerry, Michael, and Paul with me. But with Alex by my side, I knew that I could finally find peace. And as we said our vows, I felt a sense of hope rising within me. I knew that I had a new beginning, a chance to start over, to be happy and loved. And I knew that, no matter what the future held, I could face it with courage and strength.